Welcome to Destination Station. As always, I'm Destin. This is my Halloween special, 31 Days of Halloween. Today we're going to do Three from Hell, directed by Rob Zombie, starring Bill Moseley, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Robert Brake. And a little bit of Sid Haig. He's there a little bit. If you've seen any of the behind the scenes stuff and some of the what Rob Zombie's taken to social media about the health of Sid Haig, which, you know, he passed not too long ago, rest in peace. He was in the middle of making this movie, and they came to realize that he was not in the greatest health condition to finish the project, so they did give him a cameo, and it's near the beginning of the movie. It's about the first 5 minutes of the movie. But they have Robert Brake come in. He's not taking the same character, but he's a totally different character. But he's kind of the fill-in for Sid Haig, which he does a pretty good job for what he has. I like Robert Brake in other films. Rob Zombie uses him pretty well in his movies. He's probably the best part of most of his movies that he's in. But I do have to say that you can feel the absence of Captain Spaulding, Sid Haig, in this. If you don't know the synopsis of this movie, it's pretty much beat by beat The Devil's Rejects. It's the third entry of A House of a Thousand Corpses, and then there's Devil's Rejects, and there's Three from Hell. And this kind of takes the same beat for beat and tone of The Devil's Rejects. Like, while I was watching this movie, I was still like, wait a minute, this kind of feels like not really scene for scene, but just beat by beat of The Devil's Rejects and how it played out. And, you know, I kind of wanted to see it kind of come back to form with the House of a Thousand Corpses. And I'll get into spoilers later on in this video, because the less you know about it, it's probably the better, but you're not really missing out on a whole lot if you ask me, because this movie, I don't really see a reason why it was made. The only reason I can see why this movie was made was just for Rob Zombie to make an extra buck. Yeah, true hardcore fans have been wanting to follow up, but if you've seen the ending of Devil's Rejects, you would be like, how are they going to go forward with this movie? Because, you know, spoiler alert, they die at the very end of Devil's Rejects. They all get gunned down by the law, and, you know, at the beginning of this movie, it kind of plays into that, but it's kind of like, it's kind of just like phoned in a little bit, I think. I mean, just an excuse to make another entry. And that's whenever I try to say that, you know, like, I really don't understand the meaning of making this movie. It had limited, it was shown on limited theatrical release. I think it had like a couple days at the theater, and then you can get it on, I don't know if it's on VOD now or not. You can check. Let's just get into it, because on IMDb, the only synopsis they have is the sequel to Devil's Rejects. And if you saw any of the marketing material for this movie, they didn't really show a whole lot. They showed like little clips here, little clips there, but you really didn't know anything about it, and it was like they were just kind of keeping it under wraps, like it was some type of big secret, you know, that they were going to reveal. And when I watched it, I was kind of let down. I mean, you can see that Rob Zombie definitely had a lower budget while making this movie. Not that it was a bad movie. There are some directing things in the movie that I wish that he would have done differently. As far as shaky cam, I hate shaky cam. It can be utilized sometimes throughout the movie, through any movie, and I will like it. But the way Rob Zombie does it, he does it so much throughout his movies that it gives me a headache. And it's like, I feel like it's like just a poor directorial excuse to just trying to make the best of a shitty movie. Does that make sense? Now, I know that Rob Zombie films are 50-50 when it becomes to the fan base. You know, some people love the guy and loves his work, and some people just hate him. They despise him. And then some people are just kind of in the middle, kind of like me. Like, I appreciate for what he does in some of his movies, but he's not for me. His taste is definitely not for me. I mean, you can't get behind any of the characters in his movies, and that's where the movie lacks, is the writing. He tries to be witty with like a Quentin Tarantino like dialogue in his movies that just doesn't really flow well. Some are okay, but some are very over the top, especially between Bill Moseley's character Otis and Sherry Moon Zombie's character Baby. And, you know, and in this one, they really, Sherry Moon Zombie, I mean, he puts his wife in all his movies, and they always make her very provocative and showing some skin and everything, and it just makes you feel real dirty, because it's like, dude, this is your wife, and you want us to see your wife like do all this shit? Like, I don't know, dude, not into that shit. But then again, I do realize that he's trying to make the audience as uncomfortable as possible, and he does in a lot of the scenes. It makes it very uncomfortable, and I see where he's going with the movie. It's just not my taste. I just feel really dirty while watching this movie. Like, as soon as the movie's over, like, I want to go take a shower. I want to go I want to go just soak in Clorox or something, just to get the filth off me. I feel like I just watched something just so horrific, and it's just not my type of horror movie. And you know, and you could say, is this a horror movie or is this like an action thriller? And it's a little bit a blend of both, just because it's a little bit sadistic in its nature and what they're doing, because they are like sadistic killers and they're crazy and all that kind of stuff. But you know, one thing that I can give Rob Zombie is that his soundtrack to his films are always on point. He always has a killer soundtrack, and that's pretty much the best part of the movies. Even like in the remake of Halloween, when he remade Halloween, you know, that was 50-50. You know, you had people that loved it, you had people that hated it. I was somewhere in the middle with it. I didn't really care for the whole backstory of Michael Myers, you know, growing up and showing him before he snapped and all that kind of stuff. But then the second half I did like. So, but anyways, he's just a very unique filmmaker. Now, in 3 from Hell, you have Otis and Robert Brake's character, and they call him like the Wolfman or something like that, and they break out of prison, and they're on the run. And the first half of the movie, they're trying to figure out how to get Baby out of prison, because she's still stuck behind bars doing stuff. You got some horror alumni in this, like Dee Wallace is in this as one of the guards at the prison. This first half of the movie, I would say, is less interesting to me. For me, I was like, come on, let's get with it. Like what are we doing here? There was a lot of like poor editing choices in this movie that I did not like at all. It looks like I guess Rob Zombie just paid this movie out of pocket and did it for like the lowest budget as he could. I haven't looked up the budget for the film, but I'm pretty sure it's not high at all. Now, where the movie picks up is the second half, whenever, you know, and I'm going to go ahead and get in some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie, turn this off, go see it, come back, and we'll have a discussion about it. So yeah, your warning is now. I'm going to go ahead and get into spoilers, because it's kind of hard to not talk about this movie and not talk about spoilers. So they get Baby out. I won't give away how, but they get her out, and then they're just on the run. And where the third act goes is they go to Mexico, and there's a lot of little subplots in this movie that I just didn't care for. Some of the action was okay, some of the dialogue was okay, but I'm telling you, Otis and Baby, Bill Moseley's character and Sherry Moon Zombie, they are just over the top in this movie, and I won't be revisiting this movie. Some people might love this movie. Robert Brake he was the best part of this movie, I thought he was a really good addition. You do miss the absence of Captain Spaulding, because, you know, he always made those movies. But Robert Brake does really well in his performance in this movie. Now I'm going to talk about with the third act of this movie. It picks up in a lot of action, and then the way the movie ends, you're just kind of like, okay, so what was the point of this? I mean, I don't, just to make another movie and make some extra money, and I really don't know how much money he's going to make off this movie, but I would have liked to seen it like come full circle with the House of a Thousand Corpses, and like them get back home, or to those tunnels that were underneath the House of a Thousand Corpses, to like where Dr. Satan was, and kind of like even if that was like the last shot of the movie, like them getting home and then them seeing Dr. Satan or something like that, or them getting back to the farm, that would have had me intrigued to watch the very next movie. And the way this movie sends off, you kind of think that there is going to be another sequel. Do we need one? Hell no, we don't. We didn't need this one. I know I've said that several times throughout this review. But if they do go in that direction, I'll more likely want to see it. But if they're gonna just do another Devil's Rejects type film, Devil's Rejects was perfect the way it was. Yeah, it had its flaws, had a great soundtrack, but it also had Captain Spaulding, and it was a great send-off to the characters. And with this one, it just seems kind of just phoned in, and I don't know. I know it seems like I'm hating on the movie. I'm not trying to. It just wasn't for me. So yeah, you might like it. Let me know in the comment section below. If I had to rate this movie, I would give it a C-. I mean, it's decent if you're into Rob Zombie's filmmaking, but overall, for mainstream audiences, they're not going to care for this movie. And for me, I do like unique filmmakers and everything, but just something about Rob Zombie is he's just not for me. Plus, he almost messed up one of my favorite movies, Halloween. But I did like Halloween 2. I did like the direction they went in Halloween 2. I know that's really divided. Like, you really hate that with some of the choices they made in that film. But I actually really did like Halloween 2, just because it was different. We're not seeing the same beat for beat movies, but you know, someone needs to go ahead and greenlight Rob Zombie to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake or sequel or something, because that seems like that would be right down his alley, the way he likes to shoot his movies. I think he would make a killer Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I could be wrong, but I think that's more down his alley. So Hollywood, make it happen. If you have seen 3 from Hell, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about the movie. Stay tuned for more videos this month. I'm gonna try to do at least 2 a week. Stay tuned for my next video, because it's going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. I'm going to go a deep dive into that film and what I think about it, and where I would like to see a remake go, and who I would even like to see play the next Freddy Krueger. You'll be pretty interested in who I think that would make a great Freddy. But the main thing is we have to get a great Nightmare on Elm Street script, along with somebody that would be a great Freddy. So be looking out for that video later on this week. As always, thank you for watching. This is Destination Station. As always, I'm Destin. This is my Halloween special, 31 Days of Halloween. See you on the next one.